Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the Think Show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous one. And tonight, as always, I'm joined by the Accomack Guardian, Miss Lisa Cypress. Lisa brought something to my attention today. And instead of me explaining it, I'll let her explain it. Lisa?
Hey, Kayuk, Halito. Thank you for having me on the Indigenous one, and good late night to the most critical thinking chat in the land. Um, I was looking through some of your archive, trying to just dive into some of your critical thinking and your legacy. And the first thing I hit upon was this video that you have kind of posted up inside here. Simple explanations. It's not a long video. It's like only less than 15 minutes, but it hits hard. It comes with the facts, and it's really power packed. And so I was like, yeah, you need to share this. You need to share this. I was like, people need to see this because a lot of people are, new to to understanding themselves, understanding the miseducation, and that's the fact of the matter is the explanations as to who we are and what was done is actually quite simple. It's not simple when you don't think, but it is simple once you start to think about things. Like just basically think about things. It becomes quite clear like what has happened. So
Becomes quite clear.
so this is the thing. So I wanted to kind of let us look at it if it's okay with you. Is it all right?
It's more than all right.
Okay, because I wanted to kind of share this with people because I found it to be really a really great piece, and like I said, it's not too long, and it's something that you could use as a tool, like you have it handy in your phone, when you're around your family, trying to explain things to them, if when you're around your coworkers, when you're around your friends, your neighbors, people you're talking to, and you're trying to like re-educate, re-inform them, you could utilize the Indigenous one's video from African Americans ain't Africans, and it could be a tool that at your disposal that you could just have, like because a lot of everybody's looking at TikTok and all these different little things. Well, this is TikTok before TikTok. This is TikTok 7, 8 years ago. Okay, this is before pre-TikTok. You got this video by the Indigenous one that actually is a very, very, very thorough explanation of and simple, like it says, simple explanation of why African Americans ain't Africans. All right,
So
check it
you
out.
ready? So you ready?
Yeah, yeah, I want to check it out.
Talk going around about African Americans ain't Africans. One of the main questions asked is it true? Instead of asking somebody if it is true, you should simply ask yourself. If you found your way to this presentation, believe me, you are astute enough to ask yourself 5 simple questions. If the answers don't balance the question, then 9 times out of 10, the question is a lie. So let's get started. The transatlantic slave lie. Are we to believe that these people stayed chained up like this for months, pissing and shitting on each other, throwing up, defecating and eating in those same conditions, look how close they are. If you look at the bottom of the feet, they look like they may already be dead. But this is how things are romanticized to the African American. Look at the floor. How could a ship survive the Atlantic Ocean? How could these men, look at these brothers at the bottom, look how they're packed in there like sardines. How could these brothers survive the waves? And as you'll see in a minute, the waves were treacherous. Are we supposed to believe this? What did these people eat? What did they drink? And how did they drink and eat laying down? What were they fed from? What were they eating out of? Did they have bottled water back in those days? How is this possible? How would these guys survive if their heads are hitting these boards in those waves of the Atlantic Ocean? Now this image is interesting. Check these brothers and sisters out. They don't look like they're going to be no slaves. They look like they're going to a party. Look how the kids are chilling. Look how this brother's daydreaming somewhere like he can't wait to get to where he can't wait to get to where he's going. Look how the sisters are just laid back like they in a park somewhere, legs spread open. They daydreaming. What is this? And how would these people survive those conditions coming across the Atlantic? This is what I mean by surviving those conditions. Look at the waves that we are seeing in the middle of the ocean. This is a cargo ship in the middle of the ocean, but this is a storm it's caught. Are we to believe that our ancestors, who we just saw those pictures, chilling, laying back in the boat, are we supposed to believe they survived that? What about those brothers who were put at the bottom of those ships? They're bouncing around on waves like this, surviving. These are the stories that the African American are given, and these are the stories that the African American are supposed to believe. Now we can see why the African American is in the condition that they are in. Question 2. Is it likely that one group of people would drag another group of people from halfway around the world and then put those refugees on their money? In John Jones's masterpiece, The Confederate Currency, The Color of Money, he shows image upon image of people who look like African Americans in their economies doing what they do in their economies. This picture right here on the front, a lot of people don't understand that Black indigenous females are the ones who cultivated cotton in America. This is a sister's industry. But since we claim that we Africans, since we claim that we Hebrews, since we claim that we Moors, since we claim that we Muslims, how can we claim what's rightfully ours that our ancestors left for us? We just throw it in the trash. So is it possible, or is it logical that white people would drag Africans over here and then put them on the money? Well, why don't you ask the question yourself? This is the state of Alabama, $100 bill. Sisters right here. If you go down in the Creek country, you'll see that many of the sisters look like that. I see sisters like that down there in Tuskegee at the area every day. Brothers, why would they put these people on the money? Especially Alabama, as racist a state as Alabama is, why would they do that? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Don't ask nobody else because they may not know. If you start asking yourself the questions, believe me, you have enough spirit and enough heart to come back with a question that you ask. So this is the economy that was thriving when the European got here. These people don't look homeless. These people don't look destitute. These people look nice. This is who you were before you ran into Jesus Christ. So are we to believe that they drugged these people over here and put them on the money? No, these are the indigenous people who are already here. Again, this is the state of Virginia. These are the farmers, probably tobacco farmers. Why are they on the Confederate dollars back in those days? Does that seem logical to bring people over then put them on the money? Or will the people that were already here had an economy and the European tried to fuse the two economies together and in the end wind up doing what they always do, tricking you out of your inheritance? That's what it seems. That's what seems to have happened. If you like to talk about us, we can be reached at info@africanamericansaintafrican.org. We can come to the Facebook page, African Americans Ain't African, the chat room, because these are the things our children cannot grow up twisted like we were. Because what we wound up doing, especially with the civil rights movement and all of these things that we get ourselves into, we wind up giving our heritage away to other people. Question number 3. A lot of people ask, so what are you saying? The transatlantic slave trade didn't happen? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Well, if that didn't happen, how did they get over here? How did who get over here? How did the Africans get over here? No Africans came. And if they did come, they came with their masters. See, one of the stories that we're given the stories about the Moors of Spain, how these black men went up to Spain and took over Spain for so many hundreds of years. Well, those were the cats that came over if they did come over, but they didn't come over here as slaves. And another thing, what we have to ask, when we looking at whenever we're trying to figure out something, we always have to look at maps to help us figure it out, because somebody can tell you that Cuba is in Africa, and if you don't know, if you never looked at a map, you would think Cuba is in Africa. So this is the story that they give us. This is the narrative that they give us, that Portugal and Spain, the Pope told Portugal and Spain to divide up the world. These people built ships in Portugal and Spain. By the way, when people are telling you this story, ask them, where did they build the ships? Where did they get the resources to build the ships? These are questions you have to ask, because people will tell you anything. Portugal and Spain built ships, came all the way down the coast. Now, this is a trip right here. Just this horn of Africa coming down here, that's a trip. Then they go into the interior, pack up their boats, hit the equator, and head across to America. This is what the African American believes is the story of his life. With the story of roots and other shenanigans that they were given, the African American thinks this is the origin of his beginning. The people on the ships, that's where it started. And then those people on those ships crossed this in those waves to America. That ain't how it happened. If you look at if you look at maps, this is why it's important to look at maps. You have to look at feasibility. The Atlantic Ocean is too rough for boats in that time to come over safely. Also, hurricane season. They mean that they take off 6 months out of a year, 5 months out of the year to stop their operation for hurricane season? I don't think so. So what happened? When we look at it from a realistically point of view, you'd have to understand that up here in the North Atlantic, here's England, here's Scotland up here, here's France. You ever wonder how France, Canada is named after France? Everything in Quebec, Montreal, that's French, because they didn't come across the Atlantic, they came across the Northern Atlantic. And we'll give you a better look here in a minute. All they did was come up here, and when you get up here near Iceland, and when you get up here in the Norwegian Sea, it's nothing but icebergs up here. It's cold. The waters aren't as rough up here as they are in the middle of the Atlantic, because as we'll see in a minute, they have icebergs. Here's another picture. Here's England. Here's England. Here's Scotland right here. Here's Iceland. So doesn't it make more sense that they would come across here, because there's nothing but ice up here? You heard of the Titanic. You heard that it struck an iceberg. Well, that's what you have up in the North Atlantic Ocean. They just skipped across here. Iceberg. Here's Iceland. Here's Greenland. When you get off Greenland, you right here in Nova Scotia, New Scotland. This is the way they came across. How do you know they came across? Because what I get most of the time is, how did you figure this out? Because I have a brain that works. We all do. We just used to taking directives like dogs, because the African American is trained much like animals. They really don't do too much thinking. They're just told what to do. That's why this is confusing to a lot of people. So again, the icebergs. This is what the seas look like up there in the North Atlantic. So these seas aren't going to be rough because the massicity of the iceberg is going to keep the waters calm. That way you can take your boat, your raft, or whatever you're using to get across, you use that to get across. That's the way they got to America. But still, there'll be other people saying, I don't believe it. No, you lying. You know how we do. So you just have to ask common sense questions. How do you know that's the way they came? Who told you that? Well, I figured it out myself. How did you figure it out? Because New England, the New England part of the United States. Why is it called New England? Because they're trying to fancy it after Old England. And when you get to New England, what comes after New England? You got Nova Scotia, New Scotland. You got Newfoundland. Doesn't that sound like a place that somebody who was coming just found something new and they decided to name this place Newfoundland? We found some new land. New Hampshire, Newport, New Bedford, New York, New Jersey, New Amsterdam, Nova Scotia. They're naming everything new because they're coming from the old world. Is that reasonable that I should look at it like that? You would name if I'm from Compton and I'm moving down to Mississippi somewhere, I'm gonna call my little spot New Compton. Simple. How this goes flies over our head and we call ourselves having an education is beyond me. So then what happened was when they got here, they started going down the eastern seaboard and they started naming places like after their kings and stuff. Virginia, guess she was the queen or something back there. Lynchburg. They started naming Winston-Salem, Columbia. They start naming them. Not now they're not naming them places back at home. They're naming them after people. They're naming them after monuments back home. And then they come over here and start putting their names and faces all over everything. That's how they're stepped down into the America. Then they went down to Georgia, to the Caribbean, back up. But everything, they didn't come across the Atlantic. They just came and hugged the coast and went down. If you think about it, question yourself, put all scenarios in your mind, question yourself and see what you come up with. Contact us if you have any new findings that you think is right. Question number 5, and this is the simplest one. Did your grandparents ever tell you that you come from Africa? Did your grandmothers ever tell you you're from Africa? Your great grandmothers, your aunts, did they ever say anything about Africa? And if they did, where in Africa did they say you were from? Who did they say your people were? What did they say the language were? What did they say the customs were? 9 times out of 10, your mama's never said nothing like that. Because if you look into the indigenous people of America, they are the so-called African Americans. The reason why we trick ourselves out of it because we always coming under some foreign doctrine, something that somebody from somewhere has taught us something, and we take it and we believe it's our life, and that's why we suffer. So the next time somebody say that you came over here locked in a ship, vomiting, pissing, shitting on your fellow brother, think of the psychological warfare that that does to a person. Think of the shame that that person must feel about himself. Think of the shame that that person must feel about his brothers and sisters. I'm Kerry Davis. African Americans ain't African. Peace.
Simple explanations, right?
Absolutely perfect. That's all it takes is a simple explanation.
Simple. It's not where I got to convince you of anything. So, since that video came out, I've had people call, you know, and still try to hoist, what they've been taught like it's reality. We have a guy right here on the screen of one of the Hebrew Israelites. We'll get to him in a minute. But this is what these cats do. They're confusing the youth. See, they're a part of the problem. They're confusing the youth. or anybody that comes under them. They're confusing them. And you don't get no points for trying to play the victim like they doing this to us. You doing it to yourself. So, like these Hebrew Israelites, in their Bible, they talk about them playing around with unicorns. This is in their Bible. Where they come from, the land that they're from is full of unicorns. Read your Bible. That's what I'm saying. You got to read this stuff. It's right there. But you never read it and you never get it. And anytime anybody write a character that you say is black, you want to be that character. You won't be who your grandparents were, your great great grandparents, your people who helped make America what it is, where everybody want to comes to it. You don't want to be that. You want to be a fictional character in somebody's writing. Yo, man, do you, boo? Do that. But I would suggest that you stop confusing these youth, man, because they're already behind the eight ball enough. And if you keep putting the bowling ball on them, that's on us, homie.
See, what I can't figure out is that we're at war, okay? We're at war. We're hanging on by the tip of our nails because this is our homeland. Those of us that are truly indigenous, this is our land. And the majority of us who are indigenous but don't want to understand or can't comprehend or can't get right are fighting to say that you're an immigrant. You're fighting to say you're an immigrant. You're fighting to be something else when your own people tell you who you are. Your own people ain't telling you you were Hebrew. Stop lying. There's not even the word Hebrew in your indigenous language. If you are indigenous, you start researching your people, you're not gonna find anything to explain that European daggone fabrication. Cause it's not you. You're not gonna be able to find it. Cause it's not anything your people ever believed. So what you're doing is taking another European lie, gobbling it up, and spewing it out like it's your own.
And then can't even explain what you talking about. Never.
Never. You can't. You jump from one fantastical idea to another without making any logical, simple connections. You can't do it.
So
You can't.
you're telling your people they this, and then when they naturally have questions, you come with a lie and bullshit them to cover it up. And you arrogant about it. This is what I'm saying, dude. Come on. Now is not the time for confusion.
Yeah. Dressing badly and reading the Bible is no excuse for ignorance. It really isn't. It really isn't. It shows that you're using a very poor. You're using your time. Just not wisely. You're not making wise use of your time at all. Okay. And the fact that we have people so young engaged in all this confusion is just it's really sad to me. I see these beautiful, intelligent young men just talking and well studied in something that is complete bull. It is a waste of their energy and their intellect.
Waste of brain power too.
They need to be focused on their actual identity and inheritance. They don't need to be out here collecting information about some historical tribe that you don't even know that you belong to because, first of all, you don't even know who you are. You claiming an inheritance that ain't even yours. You don't, and you first. First of all, it was made up by people who are clearly your enemy. Okay? So that's the other part. Why are you holding on to a freaking story that was made up by people who gave it to you to mess up your good thing? And trust and believe, just like in that video, we had a good thing going. And that's why all the rest of the world was trying to daggone come in over here, because we had a good thing going. And it did not involve being Hebrew or Islamic or Christian or anything else. It involved us being in touch with nature, in touch with God, and in touch with our Creator and nature and our ancestors. That's what it involved. It was very simple and very real and very logical. But they came with all this gobbly, illogical stuff where you got to be scared all the time. You got to feel that God is a very insecure, a vain, jealous God. I got all these negative attributes. That's who your God. That's the God they brought over, right? He is negative as hell. He is hateful. He is vengeful. He is insecure. He is easily threatened. He is daggone jealous. He's all these things, right? That they brought into our psyche that we need to be. We need to be afraid. We need to be worried. We need to be threatened. We need to be daggone, jealous. We didn't have all that going on. That's what they brought with all these different fake religions. They wanted us to have these horrible attributes because all our positive attributes had us on high. We were winning. And they didn't want to see us win without them taking it away from us. They wanted to take that away. They still
Forever.
do.
Forever.
They constantly see us win. And despite everything they attack us with, we still win every chance, every turn. Every turn, if they just look away for 2 seconds, we're going to win. Because that's what we do. We are the creators. We're builders. We work with nature. We're naturally going to create, build, and manifest things that are positive. So that's why they have to stay on us to try to keep us in this box by separating us, by making us think we got to lean on Hebrew Israelism or Islam or daggone, Christianity or Catholicism or Jehovah's Witnessism or freaking New Day Adventism or whatever the heck that they want us to daggone be distracted by. That's how we got to be distracted by. Okay, we got to be fixated that we can't win without these things, and or some kind of frat or some kind of daggone whatever politics or everything they use to daggone distract us from really generating ourselves as the natural beings that we are, manifesting ourselves as a natural bloodline that we belong to in our natural nation that we represent, instead of representing ourselves as being daggone Hebrews when you talk about something that's fake and it was made up so long ago. What's Jerusalem like? What is Jerusalem like? Why don't you go there? Jerusalem is shitty, full of criminals and daggone frauds. Why aren't you trying to run there? Everybody want to be something, but they want to be here. And they want to drag their daggone nasty little daggone ideology and claim this is the birth of it. No, it's not. It's not the daggone birth of Hebrew Israelite. It's not the birthplace of daggone Moorish tempelism, Moorish whatever science temple bull crap. It's not the birth of Christianity. It's not the birth of none of that. But you want to sit here and drag all your negative, separating, dividing ideology and act like it's American, act like it comes from Turtle Island, and it doesn't.
So you'll notice that all of the groups, all the groups that she just named, they all come from somewhere else. What is the purpose of teaching these people that they're from somewhere else. You see, at one time you used to complain about that you couldn't read. Now that you read stuff and you don't comprehend how dumb it sounds because you don't think about it. You just read something and think that that's the truth. That's the way it happened. Like a book. You'll read a book and believe everything in there happened the way they said. You're in all other languages, Greek, Hebrew, got nothing to do with you. Somebody just wrote a story and you swallowed it lock, stock, and barrel. Hebrew Israelite, I be asking Hebrew Israelites, the 12 sons of Israel, they didn't have no daughters. How did they keep the bloodline going with just men? That now they want to fight. I'm asking a question, dude. Where's the women? What is that? What is that? They ain't got no aunt. Then they brain melts. They can never explain nothing they do. Brother, why'd you guys wander around in the desert the size of the Las Vegas Strip for 40 years and 40 years? What was that about? Why were you punished like that? And you want me to be a part of that? For real, cuz? All these stories they give you, you can't even explain. They're dumb at best. I mean, it reads like a bad novel. And this is what you believe you come from? Look, man, I'm serious about this, brother. You can do whatever you want to do. See, that's why America's so cool, because not you can do whatever you want to do, but make sure it's beneficial to mankind. The people that you coming over here, they're only being beneficial to themselves. They don't care about the people here. You can see that. But when you take your children and you teach them that they're from somewhere not here, you doing them cold, cuz.
The reality is that a lot of this stuff that everybody's so fixated on, you want to belong to something, you want to believe something, right? But this stuff really is all the ancient lies being regurgitated. Those sick ass daggone Greeks and Romans who were homoerotic weirdos, right? That's what a lot of this religious stuff is about. Because that's why it's so homocentric, it's so male, it's so much machismo, so much freaking misogynism in these religions, okay? You're gonna erase the one who nurtures life, who incubates life, who brings it forth onto the planet. You're gonna erase that. That is not indigenous. That's not natural at all. It don't even make sense. Make the woman like she's nothing but a side piece, like she's just a piece of furniture, like she's chattel. That's what the Europeans want to do, because they don't want your life force and your natural flow to actually be restored. See, real indigenous men are never threatened by the feminine. They're never. They respect the feminine because they know the natural order of things. It's your all these European ideologies that got you all twisted up. Well, I'm the man walking around with a dress shirt on, and I'm a man with a daggone sheet on my head, and I'm a man. And the woman stays behind, but and you all look dressed bad, looking crazy. Okay, that's what you're teaching yourselves. That's okay. It is never okay. Muslims got women all wrapped up while they act like savages in them streets. What the world? That that's how they have you all twisted up. It is never, it is never edifying of nature, God, or anything good to daggone take the woman and daggone step on her. It's never. It's never. That's not natural. If you think it's natural, that's why you're not going to win. You can't win that way. It's never going to work. And that's why they keep pointing you in that direction. Because they know that if you got right and worked within your true nature, along and in agreement with the natural order of the planet, you will win. So they keep you all mixed up with this dumb stuff. And you go right along with it like a trained animal, like a good doggy. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm a Christian. I'm a good Christian. No, 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 no. Oh, I'm a good Muslim. Now here you've had almost how many hundreds of thousands of years, how many years of this Islam have you had, and what have they accomplished? Especially specifically for the African American, what have they done? They got schools. They have all these daggone mosques or mosques or whatever they want to call them. And they've got all kinds of restaurants, and they got lots of bean pies. But what have they accomplished that's changed the world or improved the condition for the African American? They've marched to Washington a couple of times. They've done not a damn thing. And you still think they're great. Why? Because man can talk. He can talk, and it sounds rhythmic. It sounds musical. And you like the way it sounds. So you're just like, oh, yeah, Farrakhan has got it together. He's a murderer. And he's a daggone turncoat. He's paid by the government. But yet, you still want to sit there and act like that's going to change your life. It's not going to change. Islam's not going to change nothing. And what it does change, it changes in the same way it's been changing for the past whatever hundred or some years. Is that if you are a minister and you organize yourself as a minister in America, you're going to get certain benefits. That's where your benefits come in. Being a minister, that's the limit. Okay, it's not changing your inheritance. It's not changing how you are classified or seen in the world. It's not changing what's going to happen for your future generations. It's just going to change your condition for a hot minute while you are organized as a minister, period. Same thing if you're a Hebrew Israelite. If you're a minister, yeah, you can claim minister benefits for now in America under the not in America, in the USA Corporation for now. You can claim benefits as a minister. Same thing for the Moorish Temple, Science Temple. As a minister, you can claim certain benefits and rights. It is not magic, and it is not freedom, and you are not out of any matrix. It's just bullcrap politics and a daggone United States international corporation. You're just playing a temporary game.
So I would say, so when people start coming at you, telling you about these foreign ideologies, you have some questions ready for them, and they must answer simple stuff. One of the questions could be, well, you talking all this Hebrew Israelite stuff. How come you not in Hebrewville or the city of Hebrew or whatever they call where they live over there? Why aren't you over there teaching the children over there what you're teaching the kids here, or what you're teaching the young men and women here? And when you teach the women that stuff, it really screws it up, because the women are going to pass that on to the children, especially when they're young, and they're going to be twisted for life. See, that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to find out anything about yourself. Ever. Nothing. You're nothing. You were supposed to be used as toilet paper for the incoming immigrants to use you. That's what you do, right? USA is Israelite territory. These motherfuckers grown men.
We're in the Southwest. And how is it your territory when you are catching pure fired hell? You ain't organizing. You ain't daggone controlling nothing. So how is it Erie Israelite whatever territory? You sound ridiculous. Explain that. You need to come up on stage and explain that nonsense. That
Yeah,
sounds
man.
dumb.
Listen. I'm putting the chat. The link to the chat in. Come on and explain. We'll give you a couple of minutes to explain it. You know, and let the chat decide. Let's do that. Boom, man. It's in the chat. Come on, holler with us. I'll put it in again, just in case I did something wrong. Put it again. Come in and explain how nothing in the Bible's real. So, I mean, when did you figure out? Lisa, I'm asking you this. When did you figure out that something's amiss with this?
I mean, a lot of this starts when you're a child. When you're a child and you have questions.
Chief stand still. I put the link to the stream in the chat. Click it and come on in.
When you're a child, when people do not have explanations and things don't make sense, but nobody can explain. And you know what? Back in the day when we used to be, ask a question. Well, because I said so. Or they get real defensive and they just get mad that you're actually asking them questions. How dare you? That kind of thing.
And then as you grow up, you understand that they just don't know the answer.
They just don't know the answer. And so they're embarrassed and frustrated. And the fact that remains is that they don't want to think about it. They just want to be comfortable and following along with the crowd that they want to be in.
Chief stand
Church
still.
crowd that they want to be in with. They want to be with this church crowd. So they want to fit in. So they don't question to fit in.
Here we have Chief Red Hawk. Brother, can you explain? Hey, can you explain why the Hebrew, whatever you call them, are in the Southwest of the United States? How did they get there?
The thing about the children of Israel, Israel or whatnot, the children of Israel, see what people have to realize. Hold on, I never done this before, so I'm trying to, catch the echo and everything. All right, so the children of Israel, the Americas, with the Americas being the most ancient territory, what's considered in South America and with so-called Africa or whatnot, all of that land is considered Ethiopian. So when you deal with Central America, and when you deal with the Yucatan Peninsula, and then when you deal with Yucatan, Johnson. So The J and the Y are interchangeable with one another. So the descendants of Israel, Abraham, whatnot, would come from the main area, work his way on down to the southwest, on into Mexico, which is the nationality Mizraim, not Mexico. So when the children of Israel ended up in captivity, and man, my brain forget it in a while, a long time. But the children of Israel ended up in captivity down in the land of Mizraim. And when they was there for a total of 430 years.
Brother, where's your grandmother from? Your mom's mom?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Where's her grandma from?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. So how did the people that lived in South Carolina, how did they become Israelites? How did the Israelites get to South Carolina?
You get through the Israelites got to South Carolina by captivity. The southeast, northeast of USA is the land of Assyria. So with that being the land of Assyria, the children of Israel are in captivity in Syria, in every single matter of fact, in every single nation worldwide. But the thing is, a lot of our people, if we ended up in Cuba, they would be called Cubans. Not every Cuban is an Israelite.
Lisa, you had something to add?
Sir, I think that the problem is that we romanticize a fiction, right? That that actually is a book promoting servitude, slavery, and submission for the purpose of oppressing people. Okay? And so the fact that you believe this is a problem because in Turtle Island, we were not enslaved or slaves. Okay? It didn't even start like that. There's not this whole historical slavery thing is something they use to make you a slave. Okay? They use that to make you a slave, and you're trying to make it fit your real history. Your real history is not what they tell you it is. And why do you believe a book that you did not generate? Why do you believe a story that doesn't come from your great, 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 great grandparents? That doesn't come from your people? That story doesn't come from even Indians. It doesn't come from this continent. Why do you believe it? Who brought this story to you? Do you understand that this story was brought to you by Europeans, by Romans, by Germans? No, you don't believe that it came from them. Where did it come from? How did it get here?
Look,
You don't believe that it came from Germans?
no,
You don't
like
believe
I
that it
said,
came from Romans? You don't believe it came from Greeks? You don't believe it came from enslavers or wannabe enslavers? You don't believe that? What's the origin of this allegory?
gosh, man.
What's the origin?
Like
Who got the story first?
what it boils down to, I'm trying to. It's all echoing. It's all echoing. So I'm really having a hard. I never done it, so I'm having a hard
You
time
might
following.
need to turn down your volume or I understand that you probably have something on. Probably have two things on. You just need to listen through the StreamYard and everything else you need to shut down or put it half volume or shut it down. That's what's gonna cut back your volume, your echo. And if you got a phone on, make sure that's off as well. Like the volume's completely off.
All right, understood. And all right. But yeah, what it boils down to concerning the book, we have to understand that there is a creator, the ancient spirit, the great spirit. And with the creator live, there's a living creator. So in order for us to understand that the creator exists, in order for us to understand that the creator exists, we have to understand that our people were put in position that we've been cut off for at least I can count from 2,742 years now. So when you say that we, the Aboriginal people, have never been enslaved, I get it in a sense because you look at the records and most of my people are farmers. So when you deal with, we've been cut off for so long, and the prophecy is that we will be cut off for 3 days. Well, for 2 days, we'll be cut off in 2 days, and within that 2 days, we'll end up waking up. So, like I say, if we've been cut off for 2,742 years and counting, we're getting it closer and closer to the third day, which is that so-called 3,000 years. And with that being the case, we'll live in the sight of the Creator once again as a nation. Us waking up out of nowhere, out of the blue, for the past, ever since 1896, was it 128 years, if I'm not mistaken? That's how long we've been waking up. So with that being the case, this is proof that the spirit of the Creator is upon his people. And nobody can stop it. You know, no one can stop the fact that we're waking up. We've been in captivity for so long, that's why the tribe that you come from in particular, or the tribe that he comes from, or they come from in particular, we're living amongst our enemies. That alone shows that we've been conquered.
Sir, let me ask you a question. Since you are incarnate to Israel, or your lineage comes from Israel, and you're the famous Israelis, the black Israelis.
No.
Huh? No?
Hold on. 1 second. All right. I'm like I say, and then like you say, we coming from Israel. No, my ancestors come from Americas. We don't come from Israel. Or we don't come from over in the Middle East.
But you have, but you have their, but you're talking their ideology. You're explaining their religious text to us. Why are you doing that?
That's a great question, and that's what it all boils down to.
You have an even greater answer.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. So the number one crime today in the whole wide world is identity theft. We've been hit with identity. So these people that say that they are us, for one, we are not Jews. We are not the Jews. We are Hebrew Israelites. We have never been Jews. We will never be Jews. So these people, these Edomites, and in particular Amalekite Edomites, from my understanding, they come from the red part of the canyon down there, down about a Vermilion Sea over there in California and Colorado and in Arizona. They left from that area, went over here to the east areas of America, and they went over to Spain, and they went on to Arabia.
Brother, we have another caller. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But you know, when we come here, we try to do some.
Let him stay. Let him stay.
Let me get this. Let me get this other brother who's been hanging on. Acamac Engine, how you doing?
What's going on, brother? Kayuk. Appreciate you letting me up. I hear the brother, talk about connecting. You got I hear this a lot actually, right? Thousands of years. We go back to, you said you came with this 2,700 odd years, right? Like, you got to be an ill mathematician and we can't go back that far. That's the reality, right? We got to, because nobody knows. We can't. Who's going to validate what happened 1,000 years ago? So we got to stop. That's the point. We got to stop getting stuck on that and just start finding your ancestors are. And I know that it took a hold, and that's what he had. The brother asked you a question, right? He said, "What was your people doing? What was, did you find out what was your people in Alabama? What you said? What state? I forgot what
South Carolina.
South Carolina. But what was they doing? What was their culture like? It wasn't Hebrew. Everybody like to push this. Oh, we have to be Hebrew. Oh, why? Because our ancestors and our grandmothers and our aunts was always doing it. That's the only reason why. We try to feel like, it got to be right, but actually,
and the only reason they grab onto it is because white Europeans put that out there. They put this Hebrew narrative out there. They also make they draw parallels to the American Indians being Hebrew in their behavior and all kinds of things. But the things that they said that we were Hebrew like about was washing our being clean and just dumb stuff. It was like really weird, broad correlations to being Hebrew. And then you get these people that want to make up something and want to be leaders. They want to be spiritual leaders. So they take this and they run with it and they organize people around it. You got all these people following behind them over this made up ideology. It's completely nonsensical. Sir, it doesn't do anything for you. Being Hebrew, what is it doing for you?
That's a great point.
Explain that. Explain that to us.
The thing about it, this is what it boils down to. The sister made a great point. Those Israelites that we see on the corners, that we see being the face of the so-called Hebrew Israelite movement or whatnot, they are not servants of the living Creator. Overall speaking, I hate to say that they're not, because ain't nothing like recognizing who you are and then taking a try to become better. But
right? Let me tell you something I just found out, right? We all been duped. The Bible, we all been fooled, right? I'm gonna tell you something that I found out. The surnames, these biblical surnames, they go to Africa. So it's like the name Benjamin.
No, they don't. The surname is Israel.
We've been duped, man. I'm telling you, brother. Just hear me out. I wouldn't tell you no lie.
It's Benjamin ben Israel.
I'm gonna tell
Joseph ben Israel.
I tell you no lie, man. We've been duped. This is not. It came from. Hold on. Let me just hear it out. I traced the surnames. I traced like 5 surnames to Africa and 1 to Burma. Simeon, the Simeon name comes from Burma. That's a country over there in between Bangladesh and India. It messed my head up. And I'm like, hold on. We were told that it was Jewish names, Hebraic names, right?
Bro.
But it's not. It's a lie. Just like everything else.
No.
Just like how they told us on slave ships. Just like,
You can't tell a lot of people nothing, man.
It's just. But
sir, do you have children?
Yes.
Do you teach them this?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
But no, why would you?
Is your entire family Hebrews, or is your mother, your grandmother, on both sides, your aunts and uncles, or is your entire family Hebrew? Do they recognize themselves as being such?
Or better yet, can you trace your genealogy?
Oh my gosh. Yes, the thing is, they are Hebrew Israelites. The fact that they don't know it is the case.
Do they recognize themselves as being Hebrew?
Because they don't know it.
See, well, then you can't claim that. You come from them. They're your bloodline. If your bloodline does not state that is who they are, and your bloodline doesn't have evidence, records, documents, verifying that you are Hebrew, how can you even dare call yourself something you have no evidence
of? It's not going to say that.
And your family doesn't even co-sign it.
Because I am a restorer of the path to walk in. That's why. Just like you, for an example, I heard you before, you teach your grandchildren the language. Who before you taught the grandchildren the language?
I have a real documented people with my real bloodline with real records that connect me and real genealogy. And everyone that I
Yeah.
talk to in my family recognizes themselves as being Akamak. It's not a disputed thing. It's not something I have to fight against. And as I restore my people, there are benefits to our restoration. We have land, we have freedom, we can be free from taxes. We can actually daggone be free from this bureaucracy. We don't have to be a part of this daggone matrix. We can be free of the daggone criminal justice system. So what is this Hebrew stuff doing for you and your children? Are they going to gain their land back? And what land would that be as being Hebrew? What Hebrew
That's
land is
bringing
out
forward
there in
peace
the
of mind
government
for one.
records? As far as I've been doing my research, I found no Hebrew land listed in Turtle Island under any government records or any records historical whatsoever is listed as Hebrew land. So how do you claim anything?
It's not going to be that easy. Your enemy ain't going to tell you. Your enemy is not going to give you answers
You
that
should
you
have that
want.
answer. You're the Hebrew. I'm asking you. I'm not asking about no enemy. I said, where's your Hebrew land? How do you claim this Hebrew land? How do you
I
access
told
it
you. I said
in Turtle
Southwest.
Island? And how do you legally obtain your land and get your land back? What is your methodology? And where are your records to do so?
In other
The
words,
land.
if it was a court, if this was a court case and you had to prove that you was Hebrew to get some type of entitlement, some rights, how would you go about proving this in the court of law?
Man, we're sitting down with the panel with all other three people that's on this panel. We're sitting down doing so. Man, we'll chop it up, and I would love to do so. But when you got me verbally just trying to convince people, and no matter what I do or say, it's going to be thrown out. I'm fighting a losing battle, and I understand that. I wouldn't mind departing
I
from the
just asked you
situation
that
because
one
I'm fighting a
question.
losing battle, and I
I just
know
asked
that.
you that one question. If you ask it in reverse to me, I'll be very I can very easily show you my genealogy, show you my records, show you my ancestors, show you my family trees, show you the court records that show the land that are connected to my ancestors, to my nation, and show that but I'll also show court records showing how I was able to get one of my Accomack people off of a criminal court case, get that drop because of her in her status and our ability to self protect. So what I'm just asking, what is it that you can show that you can do for your children by being a Hebrew, and how can you obtain your land, your Hebrew land, and how can you obtain your Hebrew benefits for yourself and your progeny?
All right. So the fact that you could bring forth those things, that doesn't mean that you're not a Hebrew. That's what you don't
It
understand.
does mean, because I could tell you that I'm not a Hebrew. I know who I am. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not, and I'm not trying to go back thousands of years and claim some kind of
Okay.
ideology that some white man brought to the daggone Turtle Island. Because the white man brought all kinds of toxic, poisonous things, and that's one of them. That daggone Hebrew ideology is a
No, white man,
toxic,
bro.
dangerous, divisive
Like I said,
instrument. It is warfare. And I'm out to obliviate everything that is going to cause separation, division, and destruction amongst my people.
that's understood. I agree with that. But what you don't understand is you keep putting all the so-called Bible talk, the so-called Old Testament with the New Testament, not understanding that two books that's brought together and called the Bible. That is what confuses people. So when
Matter
you,
to me,
I,
I don't. You know
and
what?
every time I
It
start
doesn't matter
talking,
to
you
me
start
because
talking.
I don't ascribe
You always
to
asking
any
questions,
kind
just
of
wait for the answer.
ideology that's going to divide my people. Okay, I don't subscribe to that. Being anything that's going to
Well,
be
quit asking me
divisive
questions then.
is not part of this life.
Yo, man, check this out. See, this is what I'm saying. We talk to anybody, man. what you thinking about, what's going on through your head. And so we just having conversation with you, and you don't know what the hell you talking about, basically. So we just
Yeah,
gonna go ahead.
understood.
We gonna go ahead and wish you the best, man. I hope everything in Israel comes to fruition for you. Good luck with
But
that.
but Leston, let me tell you this: your children, their children, your great grandchildren will be better off if you worked on being your indigenous self and stop and
Yeah, what's
let
up?
go of this Hebrew
What?
stuff and start being the South Carolina indigenous person that you truly are. Reclaim your
Oh,
true
they
South
can't have
Carolina Indian identity, heritage, and
some
land.
kind of
That's gonna
something that
benefit
we
your
ain't
children.
here.
Hebrew Israelite ain't doing a god darn thing for them. It ain't gonna help them. Okay, it ain't gonna save them. It ain't gonna keep them out of jail. It ain't gonna keep them out of poverty. It ain't gonna keep them out of daggone any kind of destruction they have going forward that they're gonna have to face on this planet. The Hebrew Israelite stuff is not gonna help them. But if you actually repatriate the real people that you are, you can win for your children. So I'm sad that this stuff does this to families. It tears them up, it disinherits them, it makes them lose.
Well, he's gone, but that's the point. These cats make statements and they tell us all kind of hocus pocus, and when they're asked to explain, they can never explain.
Well, I mean,
Never.
he's gone but not forgotten, and it's sad though. Really, it's really sad because that's what the enemy, that's what these globalists want us to do. They want us to be all occupied by either politics, sex, drugs, religion, these social groups, these fraternities, sororities, these daggone, social societies, more societies, whatever societies. They want us to be occupied by these things. So we cannot organize into the real nations that we're supposed to be, our former selves, because we're so daggone conflicted and so daggone misdirected. That's what they want for us. And it's sad to me because I'd say he's got kids. If he would just use his dedication to learning something and to learning about his own family, his own bloodline, his own land, his own rights, his own benefits, his own, freaking freedom that he could then go and obtain for the future generations, he would win. He would win.
Yeah.
But
I
he
mean,
rather
go ahead, love. Your mute is on.
he rather sit in a room of semi informed, confused people and debate things that were brought here by people who meant to use it to destroy you and are continually using it to destroy you. That's what he rather do. I want to be the expert of being a Hebrew. That's what I want to know, and I want to be able to out talk another Hebrew, and I want to be able to convince other brothers and sisters they're Hebrews, and that's what I want to do with my life. In the meantime, he's losing. Every day he's losing. Because he got old people in his family that got gems, that got information that can connect the dots to his real benefits, his real bloodline, his real land, his real wealth, his real freedom. No, but he's too busy trying to worry about an ideology that belongs somewhere in Europe that has nothing to do with him. Sad.
Yeah, man. And like you say, this dude got kids. This dude got kids. So, they don't even get a chance. So I think somebody was telling me that the Hebrew Israelite was started by this dude from down in the Caribbean somewhere. Bible thumper just tied the Hebrew Israelites to the people here. Being that we don't read, we just go by what this cat say. And if you read their literature, No information. It's this. If you read the Bible really, if you really read it, because most people don't read it, if you really read it, you'd realize how much of an ass you've been made of all these years. Just read it. The
Fact.
first page.
Mm-hmm.
Just read it. And people don't read it because I think they know that is bullshit.
Right.
Just read it. The first page. If you don't come to the conclusion that it's a bunch of bullshit, I'll give you $1.
Right.
Later, for what you believe, you only believe things you don't know. And that's
Right.
all we do is believe. Be the lie. That's all believe means. Be the lie. Pretend that some guy is going to drive around the whole world in a day delivering presents to people in the snow, coming down your chimney when you don't have one. Imagine teaching your children that. Imagine you teaching your children about unicorns in the Bible. This is what we do to our children and try to talk like we know what the hell we talking about. That's the problem. You take all these stories that don't make no sense.
And you can't substantiate anything without records and without daggone actual, like, research. You can't substantiate anything without being able to trace yourself to being who you state you are. If you can't trace yourself to being out of some Hebrew tribe, then why are you saying that you're it? That's just silly. It doesn't. That's what. It's like, well, you might as well join the Mickey Mouse Club, okay? I'm going to join the Mickey Mouse Club, and I'm a Mickey Mouse. No, you are not a Mickey Mouse. You're a human being, okay? Same thing. Like, I'm a daggone Hebrew Israelite because I say so. You can't just say so. If you're going to say it's your identity, then you got to be able to show and prove. You got to have bloodline evidence. You got to have records. You got to be able to trace it. That's substantiating. That's substantiating. Not just repeating some rhetoric that you learned from the other guy who learned from another guy who said it from another guy. That's not substantiated. That you read a book that somebody wrote some dumb stuff down in, that's not substantiated. If it's not your bloodline, it ain't you. Period.
Right. Because you see, that's like if you're gonna find it, if you're gonna see it, you're gonna see a record that's gonna say, I'm sure if he was a Hebrew, it would say he's part of some type of church or something, your ancestor. But you're not gonna find that anyway on our records. So, but all these are really based off. I think the Hebrew Israelites was a jump off of the Moors. You know what I mean? Because it's pictures that they were running together like in the early 1900s, 1940s, something like that, 50s. So,
All these things are fueled by government funding and government encouragement
mm-hmm.
because everything's about keeping destroying the Indian, keeping the Indian down, removing the Indian. So they actually encourage your leaders. They pay your leaders. They pay these people to keep you in these groups. They pay people to seek new members, to collect more people into these daggone divisions, because the more people that are confused, the less people that are going to organize and reclaim their rightful place.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. J. Smith.
Yay!
What's going on, Jay?
Can you
Hey,
hear me?
Jay.
Hear
Can
you loud and
everybody hear
clear.
me?
Hear you loud and
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna last with the signal, but if I get muffled, just stop me and I'll try to repeat myself. Yeah, that Bible is used as a weapon because, it has people all over the place. You can't be bouncing all over the place and lay claim to lands that you never been to. And if you've never been to those lands, how you over here claiming a land that you're trying to reference from that copyright material that was issued by colonizers to begin with? Whether or not it has few truths here and there in it, I'm not denying that. It's been revised multiple times. And since that's the case, you can't ride on it in in today's times. You can't claim something that you can't validate through recent records in the first place. So the way I see it is that that's a deity that's described in that material. Whether or not there are other deities that is referenced that have some form of benevolence, there are malevolent ones in there. And I just listed in the chat some of the activities on there. If you can't tell the difference between right and wrong, and you need that material to tell you, and because it's written in your essence, you have a higher self. If you got to draw it from that writing and you can't distinguish that it's not a good idea to do the things that's carried out in the material, like sacrifice your own children, what kind of nonsense is that? I put in the chat, keep that jealous, sadistic deity away from me, because it's not it's not something that you want to pay homage to. And what kind of being would want you to worship it in the first place anyway? That sounds like ego, and then demand it on top of that. So, and I still haven't seen no Hebrew Israelite in that material. I don't know where they're getting that from. And from what you read, the character that they call the patriarch, they call Abraham, he was a Chaldean. That's what it says. So where are they getting the other reference from? I have no idea. Anyway, I'll listen.
Oh, Jay, all right. So basically, when you say that he was a Chaldean, you saying he wasn't even Hebrew.
That's not in the text. It says that he came out of Chaldea. Now, Hebrew, I've heard from a priest in one of these platforms, social media platforms. He stated accurately about the Hebrew language, if you want to call it that, that Hebrew is a verb. It's an action word, means to cross over. So whatever they're attaching themselves to, Hebrew Israelite, it's not actually something that you can put a finger on. So yeah, it's caused a lot of confusion. That they purpose that to cause much confusion. I do agree with the panel as you stated, because here you're here in the Americas, and the identities are based on various nations, tribes, but they refer to us as Indians. Calling yourself Hebrew Israelite, that's not gonna that's not gonna fly straight. Nowhere you're gonna see that anywhere on any documents. So where are they drawing it from? Something that's been revised multiple times. What they call the work called the Bible.
Jay, how does one get so confused that they can't even see themselves out of it?
Depends on where you be, actually I've said this a couple of times myself. Um, I was never forced to go to church, but some people are forced into it. Maybe the parents get caught up into the doctrine and things like that, and you're growing up. Maybe you didn't have a choice. I mean, I had a choice, and I did have my encounters, brief encounters, and of course, I went to church because my friends went, but I wasn't forced to go. But when you grow up in the stuff, it's possible that when it's ingrained in you, very hard to remove yourself out of the equation. But there's that light, that little source inside you that if you pay attention to it, you get out of it. You eventually see your way through it. But you have to be, you have to, you have to put your ego in the proper place in order to see it. You know, you have to have a pure heart. Your heart has to be right. That's how I see it. If your heart ain't right, don't matter what religion you practice, that ain't gonna serve you well anyway. It doesn't really matter. I can't speak for everybody, but I could speak for myself. You know, you draw from within, and you don't need something outside of yourself to know. Eventually, you'll find out. You seek, you shall find. If you show any interest, you know, that's how I see it. If that explains it.
Facts. And
Thank
what's really funny about these people is that they say things like Mississippi is Moses. Baby, you're speaking English. You know that, right? Okay. I mean, let's just roll back a little bit, and that is not the language of the Mississippi. It's not English, okay? So that those words like Moses and more and all this stuff you want to bring over here with your English daggone, words do not apply historically. They don't. So like, you can't be dragging your 2023 dialogue back to daggone thousands or hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You can't do it. It doesn't work that way because those people were not living there and they were not speaking that language in that way. So, let's stop with the Moors and the Moses and the M's and the Mississippis and trying to put people in places where they were not because you want to feel like what you're interested is relevant to your life today. But it's not relevant to your life today. You want to make it relevant to your life today so you don't feel like you're wasting your life, but you are wasting your life and you're misdirecting your family and you're putting them on a road to a major detour where they're gonna miss out on things because of you. Stop trying to make things that are irrelevant relevant.
Wow. So when we say we're on the road to winning for Indians, it's paved with simple explanation. These are the simple explanation. Listen, I realize that most people can't read. It's that they don't read. They can't. You think these centers that we call schools all these years have been teaching you stuff? That's why it's so much nonsense going on now. What do you say? What do you see when you see something that's not right? You do have a say in this. And what I'm understanding and what I'm knowing and what I'm seeing, the so-called black man, the so-called African American, the Negro, they only say what somebody else tells them to say all the time. The vast majority, and I mean over 50%, way over 50%, people who call themselves black, they don't have no homeland that they come from. They don't have no ancestors. They're only told what to do by the people who created them. That's why this brother sounds like that. There's no place, nothing. You can't prove nothing, nothing in that Bible. Nothing. It's a book for you to follow so you can follow the script. That's what happens. 2,700 years? You mean you've been getting your ass whooped for 2,700 years and Yah or whoever you call God ain't came back to give you no relief yet?
That's funny.
Dude, come on.
Right.
You've been getting your ass stomped for 2,700 years. He ain't sent the messenger, nothing to let y'all know this shit's about to end.
Oh Lord, Jesus is supposed to come back, remember? Just saying.
Hey,
It's
Ain't
still
nobody, you right. Ain't no doves, ain't no pigeons, ain't nothing happening.
nothing.
Nothing to indicate where's all the miracles. All the miracles that we supposed to be able to perform.
We can
Where's all
walk
the
on
miracles
water.
at?
We can walk on water. We can have food rain down from heaven, baby. We can get some victuals from the heavens. I
All
can,
these
I
all
can,
these Hebrew Israelites, we should have all the wine and everything we need, all the fishes, wine, loaves of bread, everything. All these Hebrew Israelites that are walking around America today, we should have all kinds of miracles popping off.
I should be able to go down to Florida, go in those shark infested waters, fall in with a shark, and something happens where the shark doesn't mess with me. I can blow a whistle underwater.
Maybe you fart underwater and they don't
Yeah,
mess with you.
yeah. These are the stories that we're given. And
I cannot.
we repeat them like they're real. But when you ask a person really stop all the bullshit, they try to act like you doing something wrong. Them days over, homie. We can't pass that on to the kids no more.
Gary.
Yes, sir.
Um, I think it was the one that you had on. He had he was responding to somebody, and he tried to say that the New Testament isn't real. Like he was making a distinction of that work between Old and New Testament. But what I find really disturbing is that there's a section in the New Testament. I posted it. James chapter 1, verse 13. It says, "Let no man say, I'm being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, neither does he tempt anyone." Now, he's saying it ain't real, so I got to refer to the Genesis account, Genesis 22, 1, and it basically says that, that God did tempt Abraham. And what was that temptation? To get him to sacrifice his own son as a burnt offering. Now, I asked people in the past, I said, you don't find something wrong with that? I had one guy time tell me, he gave me a response like this. Well, God is sovereign. I said, what does that have to do with what I just asked you? I said, you don't find anything wrong with it? He was kind of almost saying that he don't know the difference between right and wrong just because you throw a deity into the mix. And that's very disturbing when you think about it. All the religions on this planet that have been, messing with the minds of millions to carry out acts of, staggering proportions just because you attach a deity to it.
facts, man. That's big facts.
Yep, absolutely.
So all I got to do is say Jesus told me to do it, and it is done.
Anything is justified. Anything, and the Old Testament, all the atrocities, all these. Oh my gosh, crazy acts and things that were done and things that didn't make sense at all and seemed very perverted and is very perverted. It's justified in the text. And yet this is what you're riding on? Like, come on, you haven't read it, man. You haven't read it.
And so this is what I mean by reading for comprehension. And this is what I mean. It's simple stuff. So you're reading the Bible, and soon as it starts, you meet some people, male and females, and blah, blah, blah. Then you never hear from them ever again. Then it's Adam and Eve. What about these people who were there in the beginning? Who are they?
Check, and then it's just a whole lot of confusion because I used to be stuck in that book too, right? And it's just a lot of confusion. Like Every time God told the Israelites to go get the land, it was basically telling him he gave them the right to go war with those people in those land and take that land, and that was yours. And
Yeah,
that's several times throughout the Bible, and it never clicked. Like you said, it never clicked. I said, hold on, that don't sound right.
because I don't think most of us are reading it. Most of us are going to some worship place and having somebody there dictate to you what is said in there. Because I've seen many of Bibles that are look like coloring books, where people have taken their magic markers and marked over words and passages and stuff.
Yep.
And if you read most of what they scribble over, it's the dumbest shit you ever heard in your life.
Right.
And I don't understand how people don't get it, how they don't see it. And when you bring it up, now they're pissed at you. So that's what I mean. Simpleness explanations. Anytime somebody explains something to you or tell you something, you have a brain. You have a brain. Your brain can do all kind of fly shit.
Well, maybe it's because a lot of people introduce themselves to this stuff when they're adults and they're just paying half attention and stuff. A quarter, an eighth, a 16th of the brain is actually focused on it. You know what I mean? Because I was exposed to the Bible. I had my own personal Bible study, and not because, and just like Jay, I wasn't forced by my parents to even go to church. They had, I mean, I have older siblings, so they did that with them. But then with the second set, we're the same parents, but they had like an 8-year break between myself and my next older sibling. So they raised me and my younger sister different. They didn't force us to go nowhere. We weren't forced to really. They kind of were like older and tireder, and they were like, nah, we're not trying to do all that. So they didn't really force me to do anything. But so I wanted to learn about, God and the Bible. I was reading the Bible at home. And so I started to attend the Bible to different church services. And I also drug my sister along. And then I had my own personal Bible study when I was like 9 years old. I had like one of the older couples in the church, like very well respected, or all the way through, elders in the church, um, and they came every week, and I had my own personal little Bible study for years. I did that, and I also would cross reference it with different Bibles because I knew our Bible and was all like whatever written. And but whatever, but when you read this stuff and you're actually young enough to be like open to what you're reading and to explore it, you're like, this is some crazy stuff. You know what I mean? It was really jarring to me, you know. But when you're older and you learn some of this stuff and you're just trying to belong to an organization, you got a different agenda, a different mindset, you're not going to see things the same way. And I think a lot of people just want to feel importante at a certain age. You want to feel like you are a part of something, that you are, kind of a quasi expert on something. And these organizations, societies, whatnots, give people a mechanism to feel importante in the world. And, it's sad, but I would prefer that you all became importante, repatriating your family and your people. That would be the best thing for yourself, for your children, for your cousins, your kin, the people you don't know who are connected to your nation, and also for many, 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 many generations to come. If you spent your time on being importante in that way, then the benefits are immense. You are not benefiting your family, yourself, your children, your future by being a Hebrew Israelite in any shape, form, or fashion. Okay? I have not, of all these many, 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 many eons of people being whatever religious organization, the people that were fighting in England over religion, the Catholics versus the Protestants, none of them people have anything good to show for it. So I don't see how you think it's some kind of miraculous thing's going to happen for you being a Hebrew Israelite. It's just not. It's just not. People have killed. People have, stolen. They have done everything in the name of religion throughout the daggone eons. If you think that this is the way to go, you're being misled. You're just being confused.
Yeah,
You're not the first person to go down this path. This is something that has been done and tried and failed. Close my mic on. Oh, I guess I opened it back up. Hello?
We're going to do, we're going to bring it to a close now. But what I want everybody in the chat to do is just leave the people in the audience with some simple explanations of how, they can deal with what's coming up here in the future and what we see going on in the news and what we see going around in the country. What are some simple explanations that you can give? Start with you, Jay.
Oh, excuse me. I was distracted. What was the question again?
Can you leave the audience with some simple explanations on what you see, how life could be better, less stressful for them in this coming year?
Yeah, I like to emphasize that one's spiritual development is the most important thing. And as an eternal being that you are, if you draw from within yourself and you make the proper adjustments, self improvement to yourself, you don't have to really be hard pressed to find your place in your actual existence. You know, that savior that you see everybody else looking for, that savior is in the mirror. It's you. You don't have to look out for an outside savior or an outside authority. There is no authority outside of yourself. It's always from within. And you've been around forever. You're an eternal being. That's it. Recognize that. You don't need religion to tell you it's not a good idea to, you know, do somebody in that hasn't touched, bartered with you, or kill your own mother. You know this already. You know this. You may have beliefs. I know we have a lot of beliefs, but it's not knowledge. You have more belief than you have knowledge. So be honest. Be honest to yourself. If you be honest to yourself, you'll be honest with everybody else. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Brother Jay. Accomack engine.
Yeah, I would just say, just try to look in yourself, like the brother said. You don't really need a book to instruct you on what's right and what's wrong in life. You know what I mean? So we just got to keep an eye open and know that there's a lot of things that was just, is made to keep us distracted from the main goal. So keep that in point. Just always know, and just that's all I can say, because I know it's not easy. I'm not going to act like it's easy. It's not easy, because I was caught up myself. But once you hear like the information like from these certain platforms, start rethinking it. You know what I mean?
Cool, brother. Thanks, man.
For sure.
Lisa?
Well, I first want to thank the chat, the critical chat, critical thinking chat, and Awinasa and CU or whatever. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. And also Q Shaw Q and Young Q and Young Cherokee Peasy, David McMillan, Chief Standstill, thank you for even, having the nerve to come up and speak like you did. And everybody. Cheap Apas and all everybody who's in the chat. And I hope I didn't miss. I guess I missed a couple people, but everybody. And I wanted to also just say, hey, how do you win? The road to winning is really all about not being distracted, first of all. And I saw that Chief Standstill something about we fell out of, what was he saying? I wanted to find that because I was reading that. Something he wrote. He wrote we fell out of favor or some stuff, something about that. Anyway, he wrote something like that. That's our form of restoration. He said, that's true, but the only thing we haven't done is keep the statutes, laws. Baby, so many of us have kept the laws, statutes, and commandments. We are a very spiritual people. Okay? We're not all in these streets committing daggone crimes and also, fornicating or doing whatever. We actually have a lot of people who are very pious and live really, really like clean lives. That's the fact of us. Our nature is ethical. So if it comes to talk about keeping statutes, laws, and commandments, baby, we didn't fall out of that. That's bull. We keep laws, statutes, and commandments, and the most important of these being love all the time, because we love on everybody. We love everybody to a fault. So if that is what's keeping restoration from happening, restoration ain't gonna happen, sir, because we've been loving up the whole planet. And we've been keeping statutes, laws, and commandments this whole doggone time. Anybody can look in your family and see people, family, grandparents, uncles, and aunts who are freaking great people and always have been caring, giving, give the people the shirt off their backs, literally. If there's not enough within your purview, your life, that you can't see that these people are people worthy of restoration, if God was going to do it for them purely by God's will, it would have been done. That's a fact. But we have to understand that a lot of the condition that we're in is our own fault because we become distracted by dumb stuff. Because we choose to daggone fall for these bananas in the tailpipe. Because we choose to give up our birthright and our inheritance for some dumb ideology that's not going to do anything for us or our progeny. We choose that. The way we win is to choose you. Choose your ancestors. Choose your children. Choose your elders. Choose your kin and cousins and people that you don't know. Choose your nation. Put your energy into knowing and learning that better and repatriating that. Don't be distracted by religion. It's a trap. Religion, politics, sex, drugs, all these stuff, all these social groups. It's a trap and a distraction. If it ain't about your bloodline, then you shouldn't be about it. If it's not about your history, you shouldn't care about I really don't care about nobody else's real history except my own. Except my own specific history. Hebrew history is not your specific history, not by no shape or form, and you can't even prove it. So for us, we need to focus on our bloodline history. Finding out who your 4 great-grandparents, your 4 parents are, your 8 great-grandparents, your 16 great-great-grandparents, and so on. and working out who you specifically are beyond just the name of the tribe, down to the waterways that you're named after, the little rivers, the creeks that you're named after, the daggone streams, the mountains that you're named after, the hills, the valleys that you're named after, your real specific identity and your real specific history. Start buying old books, researching old libraries, going to courthouses, doing what you got to do to find you. That should be your mission. Any other research, you're wasting your daggone energy. I close my mic. Let this make this year beautiful.
There's a song, old song. Brothers say people make the world go round. So people make the world. So if you think about the continent of Africa, Africa has all kind of life forms. Hippopotamus, lions, giraffes, all kind of monkeys. And that's what gives that place its being. All the creatures there. We don't even know half of them. We don't even know a tenth of them. People make the world go round. People make where they live, they make it pop because the people are the land. The African American has just been trained that they're from all over the world, so it can break up the continuity here, so it'll be easier for people to come lift your shit while you're playing around pretending that you're someone else. That's how you do it. You vibrate to this planet. You incarnated here, and you should know this. But you keep trying to be something else because you don't want to do what you came here to do. These are simple explanations. Simple explanations. Trying to be somebody from somewhere else that you are not connected to is going to bring you misery, especially to your children if you do that. So
Let me add this real thing. I just saw that Red Hawk or whatever, is not Red Hawk, or Standing Still or whatever. He was like, "Oh, we haven't kept that statue." Let me tell you something. This is of the beast. Okay? All this rhetoric you're saying, it's of the beast. Because a loving God is not going to be like, well, if you do this, I'll do that. They're not going to play fucking games with you, okay? I'm sorry to say it like that. But a real G God is not going to play mind games with you. It's not going to be like, nah, boo, boo, I'll give you this if you do this. They're not going to do that, okay? That's evil. That's not good. You got to keep this. Let's make a deal. No, that's not a good God. That is what the enemy has done to you. That's what they have created for your mind. That's what they tell you that you have to be. That's why we are so messed up today, because we believe what they say God is. So we're forever tap dancing to a narcissistic weirdo that they have developed. You cannot sit up here and twist yourself up on ideology that these demonic people created. Our God is real loving. And she is more like us. Has a forgiving, loving, generous spirit. And doesn't set all these impossible mazes for you to go through to win. That's not nature. That's right. That is not our creator. Our creator doesn't do that to us. We've been taught that that's what it is. But that's the problem with this following this rhetoric written in a book by your enemy. It confuses you and it makes you look at things in a very twisted way that leads you down the wrong path. I think that's it. Hello?
Your mom and dad, your mom and dad got together to create you because they wanted to create something greater than them. That's what all our parents did. That's what you're here for. Get busy. That's the simple explanation. Get busy. If you're connected to this America, and you are, the word describes you. Get busy and start doing the things that you were sent here to do. Because there's going to be a time, and it's coming real soon, that we won't be able to connect with most of your people. You can't connect with most of them now because we're cut off, and we cut ourselves off on purpose. So like Lisa was saying earlier, get with your people, find your people, get with your genealogy, find out where your people were from, find out the minerals that were where your people were, find out about yourself, find out about the rivers, the lakes, the mountains, the hilltops, find that out about yourself. And believe me, long as you keep it nature-based, you'll find out a lot of stuff about yourself. So I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. Go into the new year. Everything you think about, make that shit happen. Peace.